Welcome to What If Deku Had a Half and Half Quirk Part 1. I hope you enjoy the video. If you would like to support me, please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when I make a new video. Now let's start the video. The first thing Izuku Midoriya remembered was the sound of rain. Not the gentle rain that taps against a window. This rain was heavy, relentless, as if the sky itself was trying to wash the world away. He was 4 years old, standing in the alley behind his apartment while a group of older children laughed at him. Quirkless loser. A rock skipped across the pavement and struck his shoe. Izuku clenched his fists. He had heard the word quirkless so many times that it had begun to feel like his real name. His mother had told him to ignore them, but ignoring something didn't make it hurt less. Then the air changed. The rain above him stopped. No, it vanished. The falling droplets disappeared into a dark sphere hovering over his head. The sphere looked like a hole punched through reality itself. It swallowed the rain without a sound. The bullies froze. What is that? Izuku stared upward. His chest tightened. The darkness expanded, swallowing the alley's light. Panic surged through him. And then, just as suddenly, the black sphere burst apart into a ring of brilliant white clouds. Soft mist spiraled around his body. The bullies screamed and ran. Izuku stood alone beneath a sky that had become both night and morning at the same time. That was the day his quirk awakened. The doctor adjusted his glasses as he studied the glowing scans. Fascinating, he muttered. Inko Midoriya gripped Izuku's shoulders. Is he going to be okay? Yes, the doctor said carefully. But his quirk is highly unusual. A hologram appeared above the desk. One half was a swirling mass of black emptiness. The other half was a luminous cloud formation. Your son possesses a dual-aspect quirk. The first component appears to generate a localized void, an absence of matter and energy capable of absorbing physical objects, light, and even kinetic force. Inko's face paled. The second component manipulates atmospheric moisture and cloud particles, allowing him to create, shape, and ride condensed clouds. Izuku's eyes widened. So I'm not quirkless? The doctor smiled faintly. No, young Midoriya. In fact, your quirk may be one of the rarest we've ever recorded. What's it called? Izuku asked. The doctor hesitated. Half void, half cloud. The name sounded impossible, like two powers that should never exist together. Over the next several years, Izuku learned that his quirk had rules. The cloud side was gentle. He could create small floating puffs beneath his feet, cushion falls, form mist screens, and even shape cloud animals for children at the park. When he used it, he felt light, calm, and free. The void side was the opposite. A tiny black sphere could erase pebbles, absorb explosions, and bend the air around it. But the longer he used it, the colder his body became. Shadows deepened around him. Sometimes he heard whispers that weren't really there. His mother noticed the difference immediately. When you use the cloud part, you smile, she said one evening. And the void part, Inko hugged him tightly. You stop looking like yourself. Izuku never forgot those words. By middle school, Katsuki Bakugo had become the strongest student in the district. Explosions cracked through the training yard as he blasted a target apart. See that? Bakugo shouted. That's what a real hero looks like. The other students cheered. Izuku stood at the edge of the crowd, notebook in hand. Bakugo noticed him immediately. What are you staring at, Deku? Izuku swallowed. I was just analyzing your blast spread pattern. Still playing hero analyst? Bakugo smirked. Why don't you show everyone that weird freak quirk of yours? The class leaned forward eagerly. Izuku hated demonstrations. The void side always made people nervous. But he also hated backing down. A small white cloud formed beneath his shoes, lifting him a few inches off the ground. Oh, whoa. Bakugo rolled his eyes. That's it. A floating pillow. Izuku took a breath. A black sphere appeared in his left hand. The temperature dropped instantly. The classroom lights flickered. Every student instinctively stepped back. Bakugo's grin faded. The sphere swallowed the sound around it, creating a terrifying silence. Even the dust in the air disappeared when it drifted too close. Izuku quickly closed his fist, dispersing the void. The room's noise rushed back. No one spoke for several seconds. Finally, Bakugo clicked his tongue. TCH, creepy. He turned away, But Izuku noticed something he had never seen before. For a brief moment, Katsuki Bakugo had looked uncertain. That night, Izuku filled an entire notebook page with observations about his own quirk. Cloud aspect. Flight possible with sufficient density. Can soften impacts. Excellent for rescue operations. Emotionally stable. Void aspect. Absorbs matter. Can neutralize attacks. Potentially catastrophic. Emotional state becomes unstable. At the bottom of the page he wrote, "Can a hero use darkness without becoming a villain?" He stared at the question for a long time. No answer came. Everything changed on a humid afternoon in Mizutofu. Izuku had just left a hero merchandise store when screams erupted from the street ahead. A sludge villain exploded out of a storm drain, wrapping itself around a businessman. People scattered in panic. Pro heroes were still several blocks away. Izuku's legs trembled. Run. That was the smart choice. Instead, he stepped forward. A white cloud surged from his right hand, forming a platform beneath the trapped man. The cloud lifted him partially free of the sludge. The villain snarled. Brat! A tendril shot toward Izuku. Instinct took over. The black sphere appeared. The sludge touched the void and vanished. Not burned. Not blasted. Simply gone. The villain recoiled in horror. What did you do? Izuku stared at his own hand. The void pulsed hungrily, larger than he intended. Pieces of asphalt near his feet began crumbling toward it. Panic surged through him. Stop! 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 The cloud side responded first. Mist burst around his body, wrapping the void in a cocoon of white vapor. The darkness shrank until it disappeared completely. A gust of wind swept through the street, and standing atop a nearby building was the symbol of peace himself. All Might. Never fear, the giant hero boomed. Because I am here. The crowd erupted in cheers. All Might captured the weakened sludge villain in seconds. But before he left, his eyes lingered on Izuku. Not with fear, with interest. Moments later, Izuku found himself standing on a rooftop with All Might. The hero's towering smile softened as he looked at the boy. Young Midoriya, he said. That was remarkably brave. Izuku's face turned red. I just reacted. All true heroes do. All Might crossed his arms. Your quirk is unusual. The cloud side is excellent for rescue work. The void side. He paused. Has anyone taught you how dangerous it is? Izuku looked down. Not really. The wind tugged at his green hair. I'm afraid of it, he admitted. Sometimes it feels like it wants to swallow everything. All Might was silent for a long moment. Then he said something Izuku never expected. A power is not evil because it is frightening. Izuku looked up. When I was young, All Might continued, I met people who believed strength alone determined whether someone became a hero or villain. They were wrong. He pointed toward Izuku's chest. What matters is the heart guiding that strength. The words struck Izuku harder than any attack. For years he had secretly wondered whether the void side made him dangerous. Whether he was somehow broken. All Might smiled. You tried to save someone before any hero arrived. That tells me everything I need to know. Izuku felt his eyes sting. Then, can someone like me become a hero? All Might's grin returned in full force. Yes. The answer came without hesitation. You can. From that day forward, Izuku trained with a new purpose. Every morning, he practiced cloud control along the river, shaping platforms, bridges, and rescue nets. Children often stopped to watch him create cloud dragons that drifted through the air. Every evening, he trained the void side in an abandoned quarry far from the city. The rule was simple. Never create a void larger than his own fist. Even that was terrifying. One evening, he accidentally absorbed an entire boulder. Another time, he erased the recoil from a falling steel beam, stopping it in midair. The more he learned, the clearer the truth became. The void was not destruction. It was absence. It could remove force, sound, heat, and matter. Used carefully, it could save lives as easily as it could end them. The realization changed everything. 2 months before the UA entrance exam, a violent thunderstorm rolled over Mizutofu. Lightning split the sky as Izuku hurried home. Then he heard a cry. A little girl stood stranded on a flooded pedestrian bridge while water surged around her ankles. The bridge was beginning to collapse. Without thinking, Izuku leapt into action. Clouds formed beneath his feet, carrying him above the raging water. The girl reached toward him. At that moment, a steel support snapped and crashed downward. Too fast. Too heavy. Izuku's left hand rose instinctively. The void appeared. The falling beam touched the darkness and disappeared. The bridge stopped shaking. The girl stared at him with wide eyes. "You're a hero," she whispered. Izuku froze. No one had ever called him that before. He lifted her onto a cloud platform and carried her safely to shore. As emergency workers arrived, rain streamed down his face. For the first time, the void did not feel like a curse. It felt like a tool. A dangerous one, but a tool nonetheless. That night, Izuku stood on the roof of his apartment building, watching clouds drift across the moon. White mist swirled around his right hand. Black emptiness hovered above his left. Two opposite powers. Two opposite futures. He closed both hands together. The cloud wrapped around the void, neither destroying the other. A balance. Izuku took a deep breath. "I won't let either side control me," he whispered. "The sky won't erase the darkness. The darkness won't consume the sky." Far below, the city lights glittered like stars. And somewhere beyond them waited UA High School, heroes, villains, and a destiny unlike any the world had ever seen. The boy who carried both the heavens and the abyss was finally ready to step forward. The rain hadn't stopped. For 3 days, gray clouds hung over Mizutofu, blanketing the city in a silence that matched Izuku Midoriya's heart. After the incident on the rooftop, All Might couldn't stop thinking about the green-haired boy whose body had dissolved into darkness one moment and drifting clouds the next. He had seen many quirks: fire, ice, creation, warp gates, decay, but never one that felt wrong. The void surrounding Izuku hadn't simply erased matter. It erased presence. Even standing nearby had made All Might feel as though the universe itself wanted him to disappear. And yet, the clouds around the boy felt gentle, warm, comforting, like a spring breeze. It was as if two completely opposite forces had somehow been born inside one child. Izuku sat quietly in Aldera Middle School. Bakugo slammed his notebook onto the desk. "So," he smirked, "still pretending you'll become a hero?" Izuku simply looked out the window. Normally he'd apologize. Normally he'd shrink. Not today. Bakugo narrowed his eyes. "You're acting weird." Izuku quietly answered. "I don't know who I am anymore." For once, Bakugo didn't know how to respond. The classroom door slid open. Everyone turned. Standing there was All Might, in his true muscular form. Gasps erupted. The symbol of peace. All Might smiled. "I've come to speak with Midoriya." Every student stared. Bakugo's eyes widened. Midoriya? Why him? Minutes later, the two stood outside, overlooking the city. All Might folded his arms. "I've made my decision." Izuku looked up. "You can become a hero." Those simple words nearly broke him. Tears filled his eyes. "Really?" All Might nodded. "But only if we first understand your quirk." They traveled to an abandoned training facility. Concrete buildings stretched for hundreds of meters. Perfect for testing. All Might crossed his arms. "Show me everything." Izuku nodded nervously. He focused. White mist drifted from his shoulders. Soft clouds formed around him. The air became cool. Birds landed nearby. Flowers growing through cracks in the pavement suddenly stood taller. Life responded positively. All Might smiled. "Incredible." Then, Izuku's left eye turned black. The clouds vanished. Darkness spread across the ground. The birds immediately flew away. Every flower within 20 feet withered into dust. Even sunlight dimmed. All Might instinctively stepped backward. Enough. Izuku immediately stopped. The darkness disappeared. The flowers didn't return. Silence filled the training yard. All Might looked at the dead plants. "Your void isn't destruction." Izuku blinked. "What?" "It isn't killing. It's deleting." For weeks they trained. Cloud first. Void second. They quickly noticed something strange. The more Izuku used Cloud, the happier he became. His confidence rose. His smile returned. His breathing became steady. But every second spent using Void felt different. Cold. Emotionless. Like something inside him was quietly watching. One afternoon, All Might asked, "What does it feel like?" Izuku hesitated. "Cloud feels like breathing. And Void, like falling forever." Cloud training. At first, Izuku could only create small clouds. Soon, he learned to shape them. Platforms, walls, ropes, bridges. Eventually, entire floating staircases stretched across the training ground. All Might laughed loudly. "Young Midoriya, You've built an entire obstacle course. Izuku smiled proudly. Then, he accidentally sneezed. The entire staircase rained on All Might. Silence. Drip, drip, drip. All Might burst into laughter. Izuku did too. It was the first genuine laugh he'd had in years. The next day, everything changed. All Might rolled a steel shipping container into the yard. Erase it. Izuku swallowed. Black energy spread across his hand. He touched the metal. Nothing happened. Then, tiny black cracks appeared. The entire container silently disappeared. Not exploded. Not broken. Gone. No debris. No sound. Nothing. All Might's smile faded. Remarkable. But something else happened. Izuku suddenly collapsed. His heartbeat slowed. His skin became pale. Using void consumed tremendous energy. That night, Izuku dreamed. He floated in endless darkness. Far away, someone stood. A silhouette made of stars. Its face couldn't be seen. Its voice echoed across infinity. You are incomplete. Izuku stepped backward. Who are you? The figure answered. You. Darkness swallowed everything. He woke instantly, covered in sweat. Outside, clouds covered the moon. Back at school, Bakugo cornered him after class. You've changed. Izuku stayed silent. Bakugo growled. Fight me. No. Fight. No. Bakugo blasted forward. Explosion filled the hallway. Students screamed. Izuku instinctively reacted. Cloud erupted beneath his feet. He floated backward effortlessly. Bakugo's explosion missed. The hallway filled with white mist. What? Bakugo searched desperately. Then, the mist vanished. Izuku stood behind him. I don't want to fight. Bakugo spun around. For the first time, he realized he couldn't keep up. That evening, All Might sat beside Izuku. There is something worrying me. Izuku looked over. The cloud quirk grows stronger the more hope you feel. The void grows stronger, the more despair you carry. Silence. You've spent years believing you were worthless. Izuku lowered his head. Yeah. All Might looked toward the horizon. If your heart ever gives in to despair completely, I'm afraid the void may consume everything. Rain began falling once more. Izuku quietly asked, what if I'm not strong enough? All Might smiled. Then we'll make sure you never face that burden alone. For the first time, Izuku believed him. The next morning began before sunrise. The sky over Dagoba Municipal Beach was painted in soft shades of blue and gold. Waves rolled gently onto the shore, carrying pieces of driftwood, rusted appliances, and forgotten trash. All Might stood on top of an old shipping container, arms crossed. Today, young Midoriya, we stopped thinking about your quirk as two separate powers. Izuku wiped the sweat from his forehead. But they are separate. Are they? All Might pointed toward the horizon. What makes a storm? Izuku blinked. Clouds. And wind, lightning, rain. Exactly. No storm exists because of only one part. He smiled. You are the same. For hours they trained. Instead of using only cloud, or only void, Izuku practiced switching between them. Cloud beneath his feet, void surrounding his fists. Cloud to cushion a landing, void to erase a collapsing wall. Again, again, again. Each transition became smoother. The strain lessened. His body was beginning to accept both halves. By sunset, he completed his first true combination technique. He leaped from the top of a ruined crane. Cloud gathered beneath him, carrying him effortlessly through the air. Just before landing, void condensed around his right fist. He punched the wreckage of an abandoned excavator. The machine vanished in complete silence. Not a single piece of scrap remained. Even All Might stared. Excellent. Movement had always been one of Izuku's weaknesses. Heroes needed speed. Cloud gave him an answer. By compressing dense clouds beneath his shoes, he created bursts of propulsion. Instead of running, he skipped across the air itself. Step, step, step. Each cloud platform disappeared moments after being touched. Within a week, he could cross the entire beach without touching the ground. All Might laughed. I suppose sidewalks are optional now. Izuku smiled. It feels like walking on the wind. The technique earned its name. Nimbus Step. Far beneath Mizudafu, inside an abandoned underground laboratory, machines hummed quietly. Monitors suddenly flickered. One screen displayed black energy. Another showed white clouds. An old man watched silently. His breathing was calm, his face hidden in darkness. A doctor beside him frowned. The readings appeared again. The old man smiled. So, it survived. The doctor hesitated. We believe that quirk had disappeared generations ago. It almost did. The old man slowly stood. Find the child. The doctor swallowed. Yes. The screen showed only one word. Void. Weeks passed. Training became routine. Clouds danced across the beach every morning. Void erased larger and larger obstacles every evening. One afternoon, All Might handed Izuku a thick envelope. Inside was the official entrance exam invitation for UA. Izuku's hands trembled. This is really happening. All Might nodded. You've earned the chance. That night, Izuku pulled out the notebook he had filled with years of hero analysis. For the first time, he wasn't writing about becoming a hero someday. He was preparing to become one. He opened to the first page. The childish handwriting made him smile. Heroes always save people with a smile. He quietly whispered, I'll do my best. Walking home one evening, Izuku noticed something strange. The clouds above him suddenly stopped moving. Every sound disappeared. No wind, no traffic, no birds, only silence. His void eye began glowing on its own. Someone was nearby. A voice echoed behind him. So, you really inherited it. Izuku spun around. Standing on a rooftop was a man wearing a long black cloak. His face was completely hidden. Only glowing silver eyes could be seen. You? The stranger tilted his head. Half void, half cloud. Interesting. Izuku instinctively created cloud shields around himself. Who are you? The man chuckled. You'll know someday. The shadows around him twisted. He disappeared. When the sounds of the city returned, it was as though he had never existed. Training intensified. All Might rolled dozens of steel beams into the junkyard. You won't always have weapons. So make your own. Cloud gathered around Izuku's hands. Instead of soft mist, he compressed it. Harder, denser, smaller. The cloud became almost solid. A white spear formed. It shimmered like polished marble. He swung it. It shattered a concrete pillar, then dissolved back into vapor. Again, again, again. Eventually, he could create cloud swords, cloud shields, cloud hammers, cloud arrows. Each lasted only a short time, but they were incredibly versatile. This, All Might smiled proudly, is Cloud Forge. Void could erase matter, but could it cut? They tested. A steel beam stood upright. Izuku extended one finger. Instead of surrounding his entire hand with void, he compressed it into an impossibly thin line. A single slash. The beam slid apart, perfectly smooth. No sparks, no resistance. It looked as though reality itself had separated. All Might stared for several seconds. Never used that carelessly. Izuku nodded. I understand. He truly did. Void Edge wasn't simply powerful. It ignored durability. The night before the exam, Izuku couldn't sleep. Rain tapped softly against his window. His notebook lay open beside him. He reviewed rescue priorities, robot weaknesses, evacuation patterns, hero laws, everything. His mother quietly entered carrying hot tea. You've been studying all day. Izuku smiled. I know. She sat beside him. When you were little, you used to pretend the clouds were carrying heroes. Izuku laughed softly. I remember. She gently brushed his hair aside. I'm proud of you. Those words meant more than she realized. Later, standing on his balcony, Izuku looked toward the stars. Clouds drifted peacefully overhead. Yet beneath them, the darkness inside him stirred. The dream returned. You are incomplete. He clenched his fists. I don't care what that means. I'll become a hero anyway. The clouds above him seemed to brighten in response. Morning sunlight broke through the clouds as thousands of students gathered outside the towering gates of UA High School. The massive campus looked more like a futuristic city than a school. Gleaming buildings stretched into the distance, while towering training arenas stood behind reinforced walls. Izuku stopped just outside the gate. His heart pounded. This is it. For years he had dreamed of standing here. Now he finally was. He took a slow breath. Small wisps of cloud drifted around his shoes before fading away. Stay calm. Don't let void react. Students filled the courtyard. Some confidently showed off their quirks. Others stretched nervously. A boy with blue hair and glasses approached him. Excuse me. Izuku turned. The boy adjusted his glasses with perfect precision. You've been standing in the middle of the walkway for approximately 27 seconds. Izuku jumped. Sorry, I was just thinking. The boy sighed. A future hero must remain aware of his surroundings. He extended his hand. My name is Tenya Ida. Izuku quickly shook it. I am Izuku Midoriya. Before another word could be spoken. Thud. A girl tripped over her own suitcase. She stumbled forward. Izuku instinctively raised one hand. A soft cloud formed beneath her before she hit the pavement. Instead of crashing, she bounced gently onto the fluffy cushion. She blinked. Whoa. She looked up at him with a bright smile. Thank you. My name's Achiko Uraraka. Izuku's face turned bright red. And no problem. She laughed. That's an amazing quirk. He smiled awkwardly. Thanks. The examinees gathered inside the enormous testing arena. A booming voice echoed across the stadium. Welcome, future heroes. Present Mike burst onto the stage with his usual endless enthusiasm. The practical exam has begun. You'll earn points by defeating villain robots. 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, and the mighty 0-pointer. The crowd murmured. Present Mike grinned. There's no reward for beating that one. So don't waste your time. He raised one hand dramatically. Ready, go. Before he even finished speaking, hundreds of students exploded forward. Izuku didn't rush immediately. Instead, he observed robot patrol paths, escape routes, crowd movement, weak points. Years of hero analysis filled his mind. Think before acting. One robot charged toward another student. Cloud burst beneath Izuku's feet. Nimbus step. He shot through the air. A white spear appeared in his hand. Cloud forge, spear. He thrust forward. The robot's sensors shattered. The machine collapsed. 1 point. Another robot attacked from behind. Void surrounded his fingertips. One clean slash. Void edge. The robot split neatly in half. 3 points. No explosion. No dramatic impact. Just silence. Nearby students stopped fighting. What was that? Did he just erase it? Soon, the battlefield became chaos. Explosions. Ice. Fire. Electricity. Metal. But above it all, a lone figure moved effortlessly through the sky. Nimbus step carried Izuku from rooftop to rooftop. Whenever civilians, represented by rescue mannequins, were trapped beneath rubble, he created cloud platforms to lift debris safely away. Whenever robots threatened groups of students, Void removed only the machine's weapons instead of destroying the entire robot. All Might, watching from the observation room, smiled. Good. He's thinking like a hero. The teachers nodded. He prioritizes rescue. Excellent battlefield awareness. But one instructor frowned. What exactly is that black power? Nobody answered. The ground shook. Students froze. A shadow stretched across the city blocks. Metal screamed. Buildings trembled. The massive 0-pointer emerged between the skyscrapers, towering over everything. Students panicked. Run. It's huge. I can't beat that. Present Mick's earlier warning echoed in everyone's minds. There were no points for fighting it. Most students fled. Izuku did too, until he heard a scream. He turned. Achiko had become trapped beneath a collapsed concrete beam. The giant robot marched straight toward her. Its foot alone was larger than a truck. She struggled desperately. I can't move. Everyone kept running. Everyone, except Izuku. His body moved before his mind could catch up. Cloud exploded beneath his feet. Nimbus step launched him across the street. He landed beside Achiko. Hang on. The beam was too heavy. Void could erase it. But if he lost control, he might erase the ground beneath them as well. The 0-pointer was only seconds away. Its shadow covered them. Cloud surrounded his arms. Void gathered around his hands. The two powers touched. For the first time, they did not reject one another. White and black swirled together. The air itself trembled. Inside the observation room, every teacher stood. What is that? All Might whispered. Young Midoriya? Light. Darkness. Hope. Fear. Cloud. Void. Instead of fighting, they synchronized. White lightning danced through black mist. Silver clouds spiraled around Izuku's body. His eyes glowed, one bright white, one deep black. The pressure was immense. The streets cracked beneath his feet. Clouds gathered across the sky above the entire testing zone. A new technique had been born. Stormheart mode. Time seemed to slow. Izuku lifted the concrete beam with cloud-enhanced strength, gently floating it aside rather than throwing it. Achiko, run. She stared at him in disbelief. What about you? I'll catch up. She hesitated only a moment before nodding and sprinting to safety. The zero-pointer's enormous foot descended. Izuku inhaled. He didn't aim for the whole robot. He remembered All Might's lesson. A hero protects first. He compressed the void into a tiny sphere, wrapped it in stabilizing clouds, and launched it at the robot's right knee. The sphere struck. For a heartbeat. Nothing happened. Then, with a sound like reality itself tearing, the knee joint simply ceased to exist. The massive robot lost its balance. Its momentum carried it harmlessly away from the fleeing students. It crashed through several empty buildings before coming to rest in a cloud of dust. Silence spread across the testing grounds. No one cheered. No one spoke. Hundreds of examinees stared at the green-haired boy standing beneath a sky filled with swirling white clouds and drifting shadows. In the observation room, every teacher was speechless. All Might smiled, not because Izuku had stopped the zero-pointer, but because he had made the choice that truly mattered. He had risked everything to save one person he had met only minutes before. And in that moment, All Might knew with certainty. Izuku Midoriya already possessed the heart of a true hero. The dust from the fallen zero-pointer drifted through the streets like morning fog. Students slowly emerged from alleyways, rooftops, and shattered storefronts. Some stared at the toppled machine. Others stared at the boy standing in the middle of the road. Izuku swayed. The silver-white clouds surrounding him faded. The darkness around his left arm dissolved into nothing. Stormheart mode vanished. His vision blurred. Save everyone? His legs gave out. Before he hit the ground, a soft cloud instinctively formed beneath him, cushioning his fall. Then everything went black. High above the exam city, the teachers watched the replay from dozens of camera angles. The room was silent. The footage played again. And again, every instructor noticed something different. Shota Aizawa leaned forward. He never attacked recklessly. He evaluated every situation before acting. He disabled weapons instead of destroying robots whenever possible. One of the support instructors nodded. He minimized collateral damage. Another teacher rewound the recording to the moment Stormheart mode appeared. White clouds, black void, the two impossible powers circling together. The screen distorted slightly, as if even the cameras struggled to record the energy. Aizawa narrowed his eyes. That isn't just another quirk evolution. It looks unstable. All Might remained quiet. He had seen the fear in Izuku's eyes. The boy hadn't been celebrating his new power. He'd been terrified of it. Izuku awoke in the medical wing. Bright lights. A clean room. The faint scent of disinfectant. His entire body felt heavy. He slowly sat up. Where am I? The door slid open. An elderly woman with kind eyes entered. Recovery girl smiled. So, our sleeping hero finally wakes up. Izuku quickly bowed. I am sorry. She laughed. You'll apologize yourself into another hospital bed. She placed a small scanner against his arm. Her smile faded. Interesting. What is it? She looked at the monitor. Your body isn't injured. Izuku blinked. But I feel exhausted. Because your quirk didn't damage your muscles. It drained something deeper. She searched for the right words. It feels as though Stormheart consumed your life energy instead of your physical strength. A chill ran through Izuku. So, if I keep using it. She met his eyes. You'll have to learn control. Otherwise, each use may shorten how long you can fight. Or worse. The room fell quiet. Later that evening, All Might arrived. He sat beside Izuku's bed. For several minutes, neither spoke. Finally, All Might broke the silence. You hesitated. Izuku nodded. I was afraid. Of the robot. No. Myself. He stared down at his hands. When void grows stronger, I stop feeling like me. All Might folded his hands together. Do you know why I chose you? Izuku looked up. You saved someone. Not because you were the strongest. Not because your quirk is extraordinary. You acted even though you were afraid. All Might smiled warmly. Fear doesn't disqualify someone from becoming a hero. It reminds them what's worth protecting. For the first time since the exam, Izuku smiled. Across Mizudafu, Katsuki Bakugo punched another training dummy into pieces. Sweat dripped from his face. His classmates watched nervously. One whispered, Did you hear? What? That nerd from Aldera. Midoriya? He took the UA entrance exam. Bakugo froze. What? They say he fought the zero-pointer. Someone laughed. No way. He probably got crushed. Bakugo forced himself to laugh too. Yeah, that loser could never. But something inside him felt wrong. For years, Midoriya had chased him. Now, it felt like Midoriya was running somewhere Bakugo couldn't see. Several weeks later, Izuku sat at home, staring at the mailbox every few minutes. His mother smiled from the kitchen. You've checked 6 times. 7. He sighed. What if I failed? Before she could answer, ding dong, the doorbell rang. Waiting outside was a sleek metallic package with the UA crest. Izuku carefully carried it inside. His hands shook. I can't open it. His mother gently smiled. Then let's open it together. He pressed the activation button. The box unfolded. Blue light filled the room. A familiar figure appeared. All Might. In holographic form. Young Midoriya. Izuku nearly fell backward. You've done it. I am pleased to inform you that you have passed the UA entrance exam. Tears immediately filled Izuku's eyes. He covered his mouth. His mother began crying before the message had even finished. All Might continued. You didn't earn the highest combat score. Izuku blinked. I didn't. No. But you received one of the highest rescue point totals ever recorded. Images from the exam appeared around the room, helping trapped students, shielding others with clouds, stopping collapsing buildings, saving Ochako. All Might smiled proudly. That is what heroes do. Far beneath the city, the underground laboratory remained hidden. Dozens of monitors displayed footage from the entrance exam. The mysterious cloaked man watched Stormheart activate frame by frame. Beside him, the doctor spoke quietly. It happened sooner than expected. The cloaked man nodded. He combined them. The doctor frowned. Should we eliminate him before he matures? Silence. Then, no. I want to see what he becomes. He reached toward the screen. His gloved fingers hovered over Izuku's image. The void has awakened again. After nearly 200 years, his silver eyes narrowed. And this time, it chose a child capable of compassion. For the first time, there was uncertainty in his voice. That has never happened before. That evening, Izuku climbed onto the roof of his apartment building. The sunset painted the clouds orange and gold. He held the acceptance letter tightly. A gentle breeze carried wisps of cloud around his feet. He looked up. I'm going to UA. The words still felt unreal. I'm really going. The void inside him was quiet. The clouds drifted peacefully overhead. For the first time in years, the two halves of his quirk existed without conflict. Not because they had changed, but because he had. He no longer saw the void as a curse and the clouds as a blessing. Both were part of him. Both carried responsibility. And both would shape the kind of hero he became. Far above, a break opened in the cloud cover, revealing a field of brilliant stars. Izuku smiled. I don't know why I was born with these powers, but I'll make sure they're used to protect people. The breeze answered, carrying soft white clouds across the moon. Somewhere, deep within the darkness of his quirk, something ancient stirred, not with hunger, but with curiosity. For the first time, the void had found someone who refused to let it define him. And that changed everything. The sun had barely risen when Izuku stood in front of the massive gates of UA High School. Unlike the day of the entrance exam, he wasn't trembling with fear. He was excited. His new school uniform fit perfectly, though he still found himself straightening the tie every few seconds. He looked up at the towering campus. I'm really here. I'm finally a UA student. A gentle breeze drifted through the courtyard. Tiny white clouds lazily circled his shoulders before fading away. For the first time in years, they weren't reacting to loneliness. They were reacting to hope. Room 1A buzzed with conversation. Students introduced themselves, laughed, and admired each other's quirks. The blonde girl with pink skin enthusiastically chatted with almost everyone. A tall boy with multiple arms helped someone carry books. Another student had tape dispensers protruding from his elbows. Everything felt normal. Izuku quietly slid open the classroom door. Almost immediately. Hey, Ochako waved excitedly. It's Cloud Boy. Izuku turned bright red. Izuku is fine. She laughed. I know. You saved me. She motioned to the desk beside hers. Sit over here. Before he could answer, another familiar voice spoke. I recognize you. Tenya Ida adjusted his glasses. You were the examinee who rescued Miss Uraraka. Izuku scratched the back of his head. It just felt like the right thing to do. Ida smiled. That is exactly what a hero should say. Across the room, one student watched quietly. His expression never changed. Half of his hair was white, the other half red. Shoto Todoroki. For reasons he couldn't explain, he felt something strange every time he looked at Midoriya. Not fear, not admiration, recognition. As though the calm clouds surrounding Izuku hid something impossibly deep beneath them. The classroom door suddenly slid open. A yellow sleeping bag slowly dragged itself inside. It stopped. A tired man crawled out. Long black hair, tired eyes, expressionless face. Shoto Aizawa. It took all of you 8 seconds to settle down. Too slow. The room immediately fell silent. I'm your homeroom teacher. I'm Aizawa. He tossed gym uniforms onto the desks. Get changed. We're doing the quirk apprehension test. Outside, the class gathered on the athletic field. Aizawa looked over the students. You all ranked highly enough to get into UA. That means nothing. If you can't improve, you'll never become heroes. Bakugo smirked confidently. Finally, something he could dominate. Then, his eyes landed on Izuku. The smile disappeared. Deku. The entire class turned. You know him? Bakugo laughed bitterly. I've known this idiot since kindergarten. He pointed accusingly. He was quirkless. Silence spread across the field. Several students looked confused. Ochiko blinked. Quirkless. Izuku quietly nodded. I thought I was. Bakugo clenched his fists. What do you mean, thought? You never had a quirk. Izuku hesitated. Aizawa interrupted. If you're done catching up, we're starting. Aizawa handed Izuku a softball. Throw it. No restrictions. Izuku looked at the ball, then at the open field. He didn't want to use void. Not here. Not yet. Instead, cloud gathered beneath his feet. The wind gently lifted him several inches above the ground. Soft white mist wrapped around his throwing arm. He inhaled. The cloud compressed. Denser. Denser. Until it became almost invisible. He threw. The ball vanished into the sky like a shooting star. The display beeped. 1,542.8 meters. The class stared. Bakugo's eyes widened. Impossible. Aizawa looked down at his tablet. Interesting. No explosive force. No shockwave. Simply, perfect energy transfer. 50-meter dash. Students lined up. Ready. Go. Cloud burst beneath Izuku's shoes. Nimbus step. Instead of running, he skipped across the air itself. Each invisible cloud platform launched him farther. Faster. He crossed the finish line almost before the others had taken 5 steps. Time. 2.06 seconds. Ida smiled. Incredible mobility. Even he couldn't match it. Most students squeezed the metal device. Strength. Simple. Izuku held it carefully. He smiled nervously. I should probably avoid void. Instead, cloud condensed around his fingers like soft gloves. He squeezed. The machine groaned. Numbers climbed. 400 kilograms. 700 kilograms. 1,100 kilograms. The screen flashed. Error. The grip tester had broken. Mina Ashido whistled. Remind me never to lose at arm wrestling with you. The class laughed. Izuku scratched his cheek awkwardly. Only one event remained. Precision. A series of reinforced steel targets stood hundreds of feet away. Aizawa crossed his arms. Hit the smallest target. Students fired lasers. Ice shards. Explosions. Tape. Electricity. Then, Izuku stepped forward. He hesitated. Cloud wasn't precise enough. There was only one option. The void. His left eye slowly darkened. The temperature seemed to drop. The cheerful atmosphere vanished. Even the breeze stopped. Several students instinctively stepped backward. Shoto narrowed his eyes. What is that? A thin line of black energy appeared on Izuku's fingertip. Not a blade. Not a beam. Just absence. He gently flicked his finger. The smallest steel target. Disappeared. Not broken. Not melted. Gone. The target behind it. Remained untouched. The wall behind that. Untouched. Perfect control. Absolute precision. Silence. Even Bakugo had nothing to say. Aizawa activated his erasure quirk. Instantly, the white clouds surrounding Izuku dissolved. Nimbus step disappeared. Cloud forge vanished. Izuku blinked. It worked. Then, the black energy around his left eye remained. Aizawa frowned. He increased his focus. Nothing changed. The void remained. calm, silent, watching. For the first time in years, Aizawa's quirk had failed to erase part of another quirk. He released erasure. Cloud returned immediately. His expression remained unreadable. Class dismissed for lunch. Students slowly walked away, whispering among themselves. As the others left, Aizawa stopped Izuku. Midoriya. Yes, sir? What exactly is your quirk? Izuku looked at his own hands. Half cloud, half void. Aizawa remained silent. I've never encountered a quirk that erasure only partially affects. Izuku lowered his head. I'm still learning. I know. Aizawa's voice softened, just enough to notice. Make sure you do. Because whatever that void is, it doesn't behave like any quirk I've ever seen. He turned and walked away, leaving Izuku standing alone beneath a sky filled with slow-moving clouds. High above, a single patch of darkness drifted against the wind. Watching, waiting. The following afternoon, Class 1A gathered outside Training Building Gamma. The enormous facility was designed to simulate real urban combat. Towering concrete structures, office buildings, warehouses, and narrow alleyways stretched for blocks inside the massive dome. The students buzzed with excitement. Then the doors burst open. I am here. A gust of wind swept across the room as All Might strode inside in his silver and blue hero costume. The class erupted. Even students who had tried to stay composed couldn't hide their excitement. Today, All Might boomed. You'll learn one of the most important lessons a hero can ever know. He pointed dramatically toward the cityscape. Not every battle happens in the open. Sometimes, you'll have to save lives inside buildings filled with civilians. A screen lit up behind him. Heroes versus villains. The villain team has hidden a mock nuclear weapon. The hero team must stop them before time runs out. The class leaned forward. This exercise will test more than power. It will test judgment. Pairs were drawn randomly. The room watched the screen. Heroes, Izuku Midoriya and Achiko Uraraka. Villains, Katsuki Bakugo and Tenya Ida. The room fell silent. Bakugo slowly smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting years for this moment. So, he cracked his knuckles. I finally get to see your trick. Izuku met his gaze calmly. It's not a trick. Bakugo laughed. We'll see. Before the match began, each team was given 10 minutes to prepare. Inside the villain building, Ida immediately unfolded a map. We should fortify the objective. Bakugo ignored him. I'm hunting Deku. Ida frowned. Our assignment is to protect the weapon. I don't care. Bakugo slammed a fist into the wall. He lied to everyone. He spent years pretending to be weak. Ida adjusted his glasses. Or perhaps he truly changed. Bakugo glared. No, I know him. Meanwhile, on the hero's side, Achiko smiled nervously. So, what's the plan? Izuku looked at the building blueprint. He had already memorized every hallway. Bakugo will rush us. You know that already? He always attacks first. She blinked. How? Izuku smiled sadly. I've known him my whole life. He pointed to several ventilation shafts. We aren't fighting head-on. We'll split his attention. Achiko grinned. I trust you. Those words caught him off guard. Not long ago, no one had trusted him. The buzzer sounded. The heroes entered. Immediately, Izuku released a thin layer of cloud through the building. Not enough to block vision, just enough to map the air currents. Every hallway, every stairwell, every open door, the clouds whispered the layout back to him. He could sense movement through the tiny shifts in the mist. There, he pointed upward. Second floor. They're waiting. Achiko stared. Your clouds can do that. They're part of me. Above them, Bakugo grinned. They're coming. Without warning. Boom. He blasted through the ceiling. Concrete exploded everywhere. Smoke filled the room. His gauntlet was already aimed at Izuku. I found you. The explosion shook the building. Achiko ducked behind a pillar. Izuku stepped sideways. Nimbus' step carried him effortlessly through the debris. Bakugo's second blast struck only empty air. What? Izuku didn't counterattack. He simply moved. Cloud after cloud formed beneath his feet, letting him dance through the battlefield. Bakugo growled. Stop running. I don't need to beat you. I need to stop the bomb. That answer only made Bakugo angrier. You think you're better than me? Another explosion. Another miss. Each blast tore chunks from the building. Watching from the observation room, Aizawa folded his arms. Midoriya isn't trying to win. All Might smiled proudly. He's trying to save. Bakugo's relentless explosions filled the corridors with smoke and dust. Izuku realized they had only moments before the structural damage became dangerous. He closed his eyes. Clouds don't just carry people. They can protect them. He spread both hands. The mist that had been drifting through the building answered. Clouds poured from every hallway, every broken window, every crack in the walls. Within seconds, the entire floor was wrapped in a dense white blanket. No ordinary fog. These clouds moved with purpose. They muffled sound, softened falling debris, shifted to create safe paths. Bakugo fired another explosion. The blast vanished into the cloud bank. What? The smoke wasn't dispersing. It was absorbing the force. From outside, the upper floors of the building seemed to disappear inside a living storm. All Might leaned forward. A new technique. Aizawa narrowed his eyes. He hit an entire battlefield. Izuku whispered its name. Skyvale.
Inside the shifting clouds, visibility dropped to almost nothing, but Izuku could see perfectly. Every cloud particle carried information back to him. He sensed Ochako moving carefully to the stairwell. He sensed Aida standing guard over the mock bomb. He sensed Bakugo charging wildly, relying on instinct. Straight ahead, Izuku whispered into the mist. Ochako heard him immediately. Without hesitation, she followed his directions. Left, she turned. 3 steps, she obeyed. She never once questioned him. For the first time, Izuku experienced what it felt like to have a teammate who believed in him completely. Bakugo unleashed explosion after explosion. The clouds swallowed each blast, then reformed. "They're alive," he muttered. "No, they're following him." His frustration grew. Every attack that would normally dominate the battlefield was being redirected, softened, or simply avoided. He slammed his fist into a wall. "Deku, fight me!" Izuku's voice echoed calmly from somewhere within the clouds. "I will, when everyone's safe." The words hit Bakugo harder than any punch. Deep inside, a thought he had refused to acknowledge began to surface. The timid boy he had bullied for years was gone. In his place stood someone who had learned that strength existed to protect others, not to prove superiority. While Bakugo searched the endless cloud maze, Ochako reached the top floor. Ida stood before the mock nuclear device. He lowered his stance. "I cannot allow you to pass." Ochako smiled. "I know." The two charged. Below them, Izuku finally stepped out of the clouds. Bakugo spun toward him instantly. "There you are." Explosions flared from both palms. Izuku inhaled. Clouds gathered around one hand. Darkness gathered around the other. For a brief moment, the air itself grew still. He didn't activate Stormheart. Not yet. He had learned something more important. He didn't need overwhelming power to be a hero. He needed control. The battle had only just begun. The upper floors of Training Building Gamma had disappeared inside Skyvale. White clouds drifted through shattered windows like living rivers. Outside, the class watched the monitors. Inside, Bakugo's breathing echoed through the mist. "Come out!" A small cloud floated past. He blasted it apart. Another appeared behind him. Then another. They weren't attacking. They were distracting him. Izuku quietly walked through the clouds. Every movement Bakugo made, every heartbeat, every explosion, the clouds whispered back to him. He wasn't seeing with his eyes anymore. He was seeing through the storm itself. Several floors above, Ochako faced Ida. The mock nuclear weapon stood behind him. Ida lowered his stance. "I cannot simply allow you to pass." Ochako smiled. "I wouldn't expect you to." The two rushed forward. Ida's engines roared. Ochako dodged. She tapped a chunk of broken concrete. It became weightless. She kicked it. The floating slab drifted toward Ida. He smashed through it effortlessly, but while he did, Ochako reached the bomb. Only one more touch. Ida grabbed her wrist. "You're quick," she grinned. "My partner taught me something." "Oh?" "Heroes don't always win by being stronger. They win by thinking." She touched the floor. The entire section beneath Ida became weightless. His balance disappeared. He floated upward. For only 3 seconds, but 3 seconds were enough. She reached the mock bomb. Beep, the objective was secured. The exercise should have ended. But below, Bakugo kept fighting. He charged through the clouds. Deku! Izuku stepped from the mist. I'm here. Silence filled the ruined hallway. Concrete cracked beneath Bakugo's boots. You've been looking down on me? Zuku's eyes widened. What? You've had this quirk the whole time. I didn't. Bakugo exploded forward. Izuku blocked with a cloud shield. The explosion pushed him backward. I thought I was quirkless. Liar. Another blast. The shield shattered. Zuku's eyes widened. What? Cloud fragments drifted like snow. Izuku refused to attack. He only defended. Bakugo noticed. Fight back. I don't want to hurt you. That answer hurt even more. Bakugo threw one final explosion. Izuku didn't dodge. Instead, he raised his hand. The blast disappeared into a thick wall of clouds. The smoke cleared. Izuku stood untouched. I never lied to you. Bakugo froze. I really believed I was quirkless. My quirk didn't awaken until recently. Silence. For years, Bakugo had built his identity around being naturally gifted, around being better than the powerless boy who followed him everywhere. If Deku had truly been powerless, then neither of them attacked. Everything changed. I don't understand, Bakugo whispered. I don't either. Izuku looked down at his hands. I'm still figuring it out. For the first time in years, neither of them attacked. The teachers watched quietly. No one spoke. Finally, All Might sighed. They're not really fighting each other. Aizawa nodded. They're fighting the past. On another monitor, Ochako celebrated with Ida after the official victory. The exercise was over. Yet the emotional battle downstairs had only begun. The class assembled. All Might smiled. The winners. Hero Team Midoriya and Uraraka. The room applauded. Ochako laughed happily. We did it! Izuku smiled. We did. Bakugo remained silent. All Might began reviewing the match. Midoriya, you demonstrated exceptional situational awareness. Your use of Sky Veil protected both civilians and teammates while limiting collateral damage. He turned toward Ochako. You trusted your partner completely. She smiled proudly. Then All Might looked at Bakugo. You possess incredible talent. The room became quiet. But strength without purpose can become destructive. Bakugo lowered his eyes. For once, he didn't argue. After class, Bakugo stood alone outside the training building. The evening sky glowed orange. Footsteps approached. Izuku. Neither spoke for a while. Finally, Izuku handed Bakugo a bottled drink. Bakugo stared at it. Why? You looked thirsty. Idiot. Despite the insult, Bakugo accepted it. Minutes passed. Then he asked quietly, Are you really stronger than me now? Izuku looked toward the clouds. I don't know. I don't want to be stronger than you. I just want to save people. Bakugo didn't answer. But for the first time, he wondered whether that difference was exactly why Deku had begun to surpass him. Far below Musutafu, the Eclipse headquarters shook. Ancient machines awakened. Runes carved into black stone walls glowed faintly. The cloaked leader stood before a circular chamber. A doctor rushed in. The pulse happened again. The leader nodded. I felt it. The void has stabilized. The doctor hesitated. Should we proceed with Project Eclipse? A long silence followed. Finally, yes. But no one is to harm the boy. The doctor looked surprised. You've changed your orders. He must choose. If we force him, the void will reject us. He gazed toward the ceiling as though he could see the sky above. The child carries something our ancestors feared, but also something they never imagined. Hope. That night, Izuku dreamed once more. He stood in an endless sea of clouds. Above him, stars shone brighter than ever before. Below, an ocean of perfect darkness stretched forever. The mysterious figure appeared again. Only this time, its face was clearer. It looked like an older version of Izuku. "You are growing." Izuku frowned. "Who are you?" The figure smiled faintly. "I am what remains." "Remains of what?" Instead of answering, the figure reached toward the sky. The clouds parted. Beyond them, Izuku saw something impossible. A colossal tree made of light. Its branches stretched across the stars. Its roots disappeared into the endless void below. "What is that?" The figure's voice echoed softly. "The place where every quirk was born." Before Izuku could ask another question, the dream shattered. He awoke just before sunrise. Outside his window, white clouds drifted peacefully across the morning sky. But high above them, for only a brief moment, a single streak of darkness crossed the horizon, watching, waiting. The week after the battle exercise passed quickly. For most of Class 1A, life settled into a rhythm of classes, training, and late-night studying. For Izuku, things were different. His cloud quirk had become easier to control every day. He could summon platforms instinctively, shape shields in an instant, even tiny cloud birds that carried simple messages across the room. The void, however, remained silent, almost too silent. It only responded when danger appeared, or when despair crept into his heart. That frightened him more than he admitted. One rainy morning, Aizawa entered the classroom carrying a stack of folders. "Today, you're participating in rescue training." The room lit up with excitement. "Your instructor will be one of the greatest rescue heroes alive." The classroom doors opened. A figure in a sleek white spacesuit stepped inside. A voice echoed warmly through the helmet. "I am 13. I look forward to working with all of you." The class arrived at the enormous unforeseen simulation joint, commonly called the USJ. It was a massive dome divided into disaster zones, floods, earthquakes, collapsed cities, burning buildings, every environment a hero might encounter. 13 gathered the students together. "My quirk is called Black Hole." A tiny sphere of darkness appeared on one fingertip. It can reduce almost anything to dust. Several students gasped. 13's tone remained calm. "A powerful quirk can save lives, or take them." Izuku stared. The tiny black sphere looked strangely familiar. Not identical, but related. His left eye suddenly tingled. The void stirred. Tiny strands of darkness curled around his fingertips, only for a second, then vanished. 13 paused, their helmets slowly turned toward him. Interesting. Training was about to begin. Students spread across the observation platform. Then, every light inside the dome flickered. Once, twice, 3 times. The air became heavy. A low vibration echoed through the building. Aizawa immediately stepped forward. "Everyone, get behind me." A swirling black mist appeared in the center of the plaza. It expanded, twisted, opened. Figures began walking out. Dozens, then hundreds. Villains. The room fell silent. One student whispered, "This isn't part of the lesson." Aizawa's expression hardened. "No, it isn't." The black mist grew larger. A tall figure stepped through. A man covered in disembodied hands. Beside him, a living cloud of purple mist. And behind them, a monstrous creature with an exposed brain and impossible muscles. The students instinctively backed away. The hand-covered man tilted his head. Interesting. So many future heroes. His voice was calm, almost bored. The purple mist spoke politely. "Our apologies. It seems we have interrupted your class." Aizawa stepped forward. "You've made one mistake." "Oh? You came here while I'm teaching." Without another word, he vanished. The villains barely had time to react. Aizawa appeared among them like a shadow. One kick, a villain flew across the plaza. A throw, another crashed into a wall. A capture scarf wrapped around 3 more simultaneously. Class 1A watched in stunned silence. Ochako whispered, "He's incredible." Izuku nodded. He doesn't waste movement. Every strike, every dodge, every decision, perfect efficiency. But the villains kept coming. Too many. Far too many. The purple mist spread across the floor. Students screamed. Cloud-like tendrils wrapped around their feet. Izuku reacted instantly. "Everyone, move!" Too late. The mist exploded outward. One by one, students disappeared, flung into different disaster zones. Izuku reached for Ochako. Their fingertips almost touched. Then the mist swallowed them both. Darkness. Silence. Weightlessness. Splash. Cold water surrounded him. Izuku surfaced. Broken ships drifted nearby. Ruined buildings rose from the artificial lake. The flood zone. He looked around. No classmates. Just villains. At least 20. One laughed. "Well, looks like we got one." Another grinned. "The kid's alone." Izuku slowly exhaled. Clouds formed beneath his feet. He stood on the water. The villains stopped smiling. The villains attacked together. Knives, chains, metal pipes. Izuku refused to sink. Cloud after cloud formed beneath him. He glided across the lake like a spirit. Every attack missed. One villain leaped high into the air. Izuku pointed upward. Cloud condensed into a hammer. One clean strike. The villain splashed harmlessly into the water. Another threw a hook. Void appeared for only an instant. The hook simply ceased to exist. The chain clattered uselessly into the lake. The remaining villains hesitated. What kind of quirk? Across the flood zone, Izuku heard frightened voices. A tourist rescue boat used for training had overturned. Several support staff members were trapped beneath floating debris. The villains noticed them too. One sneered, "Easy hostages." Izuku's heart pounded. Not again. No one gets left behind. He raised both hands. The sky responded. Clouds poured downward from the dome ceiling, far more than ever before. They spread across the lake like enormous white wings. Each cloud connected to another, growing, thickening, strengthening, until a gigantic protective dome covered the stranded civilians. Axes, bullets, thrown debris. Everything struck the clouds and slowed to a stop. The barrier absorbed every impact. Soft, gentle, unbreakable. Izuku whispered, "Heaven's canopy." Inside the dome, the trapped workers stared upward in disbelief. They were safe. Far above the USJ, hidden among storm clouds outside the massive dome, a single figure stood suspended in the air. Black robes fluttered silently. The leader of the eclipse. He watched heaven's canopy bloom below. His silver eyes widened. "So, you've reached this stage already." Behind him, the doctor appeared. "Should we intervene?" The leader slowly shook his head. "No. Today, history begins to change on its own." Lightning flashed across the sky for just a heartbeat. The leader removed his hood. His face was calm, ancient, scarred by centuries of grief. And strangely, his eyes resembled Izuku's. Not identical, but close enough to send a chill through anyone who might have seen them. He whispered into the wind, "Grow stronger, child. The storm ahead will demand everything you are." Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe to help support this channel, and I hope you have a blessed day.